So the deal I'm going to show you guys today, I hired a guy who hired 4 people. I don't know if they're in the United States or overseas. I paid him $4,000 a month to find me off market deals just in the Dallas Fort Worth area. And he presented, and I did it for about 6 months. I just wanted to see what he was going to send me and if it was actually viable, things like that. He ended up presenting to me maybe 3 to 5 deals a month. So over a 6 month period, maybe I got 15, 20 deals in my inbox. Let's just say it's 20. 10 weren't worth the 5 minutes I spent on them. So then now there's 10. Of those 10, I spent maybe 15 minutes out on them, and another 5 I threw away because they just didn't make sense. They wanted too much money. And that's the other thing that becomes very problematic is a company, let's say it makes 500 grand, so it's worth 1.7. They want 4. Right? They're just so unrealistic because nobody's ever told them what their company is worth, but they want $4 million to retire. They're not selling. So it becomes, but you don't know that yet. You haven't even talked to them yet. So you got to spend an hour of your time or 2 hours or 3 hours of your time and go to lunch with them if they're local and they're like, oh yeah, I want $4 million. And I'm like, "Well, it's worth 1.5." Well, okay, then I don't want to sell then. So you just waste 4 hours of your time. So out of the 20, I actually talked to 2 people. So in 6 months, I spent 25 grand in 6 months and I looked at 2 deals. And this was in essence the only one that I liked. And the numbers kind of made sense, but the timing wasn't right. So this is a specialty plumbing company. What these guys do is, I don't know what's going on in other parts of the country, but in Texas, all your sewer pipes from your house are made out of lead and they last about 30 or 40 years before they need to get replaced. And we all have slabs here in Texas. Again, I don't know, this is applicable in other parts of the country. We all have slabs here. So that sewer pipe runs underneath your house and then comes up through the slab into your toilets and drains and all that sort of stuff, right? So to replace that, first off, you need to move out for about 6 to 8 weeks because that's how long it's going to take. And they're digging underneath your house. And it's probably, let's just say it's $100,000 venture. Okay. So that in itself is a good deal if you're a plumber, if you can get that business. Really good. Well, these guys leave the existing pipes in place and they have sophisticated equipment that in essence unravels a piece of rubber lining to go through your pipe. Very cool technology. And what also they can do is you don't have to move out of your house because they'll just do one of the forks, maybe take them a couple days. So you just can't use that shower for 2 days, but you can use all the other showers and toilets in the rest of your house. So you don't have to move out. Okay. And then also, too, under the other scenario, guess what they're putting in? They're putting another lead pipe in, which is going to have the same problem in 40 years. Maybe you don't care about that because you're dead or whatever. Who cares? But this is going to last longer and it's half the price. Instead of 100, it's 50. And you don't have to move out of your house. So it's cool technology, right? So that's what this guy does. He doesn't do any other plumbing. This is what he does. It's really, really, really cool. Okay. So this is the 2023 financial statement. I saw this guy, I want to say last June, last May, something like that. So almost a year ago is when I had a face to face with him. Really cool guy. So this is 23. You kind of started this from scratch too. 920, 929 in revenue. And I don't know why I'm circling this stuff. It's all independent contractors, which is good. That's not a W-2. So he just hires contractors per job. And so that meets the qualifications with the IRS of a 1099. So that's good. Let's see. And that's it. So on that, margins aren't great for a high service like this. I normally like to see my margins at 50%, and these are half that at probably about 27, 28%. So the margins are really low. A lot of word of mouth, mostly residential, but he's getting into the commercial stuff that he had to buy another $200,000, $150,000 piece of equipment to do commercial jobs because they're just bigger, longer runs and things like that you got to replace. Um, Insurance seems okay, 25 for $1 million business. So all the numbers seemed really good. Rent, I just circled that. That's for an entire year. So he doesn't even, he's got like a little 100 square foot little office and that's it. So he doesn't have any inventory or anything like that. So his rent's really low. Um, so it's just clean. Made $73,000 that year. Not great. Service industry, I like to take 20% to the bottom line. So 20% would be 180. So that number is a little low, but he's just starting off. Balance sheet, let's take a look at it. No receivables, that's great. So it's half up front and half when you walk out the door. So that's really good that his collections were there. Nothing sticks out of what's going on here. Couple trucks. I think the Art Endeavor, this thing is one of the big pieces of equipment that he had to buy. And then remember here what retained earnings is, right? Everybody remember what retained earnings is? That's all the
Yep.
that's all the previous net income added up forever. So before this year started, before 23 started, 22, 21, he lost money. Okay. So remember to look at that. Okay. Balance sheet is a verification of what's going on in the income statement. Okay. Always remember that. Okay. Here's 24. So revenue went up 100 and so grand. Margins look like they increased a little bit. So he's up right at 30%. He was 27% the previous year. So margins are getting a little bit better. Insurance still looks good. Went up a little bit, so that's good. Interest paid. So I mean borrowed money, right? So he probably bought a truck or a piece of equipment. Rent went up. Remember the previous year rent was 3. It's still cheap. It's $1,500 a month, so that's good. I don't remember what he was traveling about, but I think he had some out of state jobs or at least out of the area jobs. Um, I think. Look at his income went way down. So what happened? Advertising and marketing went way up, 73 grand there. Interest paid, legal and professional fees didn't have the previous year. All this travel. And if I remember, he bought equipment and he expensed it. if I remember. So the net income doesn't look good. Balance sheet. It's always a good indication to have cash in checking account, which is good. 64 grand. What was previous? Okay, equipment. And so he didn't buy a whole bunch of equipment. Previous year was 55 and it's 64 this year. So what should retained earnings be on this balance sheet? What was it last year? Negative 53. How much money did he make? Let's see. Hopefully I don't sound like an idiot here. Made 73 grand. Negative 53. So retained earnings should be 20, right?
Yep.
Either gonna sound super smart or super stupid right here. Look, it's 20. Oh my God. Praise Jesus that I was right.
So Paul, I have a question.
Yep.
Why were you so interested in this business? What was it about it that you liked so much?
Very nichey, and there's very close to zero competition. Zero. This
Do you
guy
have
had the entire Metroplex, I believe, as his. He was reselling somebody else's product.
So is your angle you're going to be able to market and generate more revenue?
Yeah,
Is that what your
without a
goal would be?
doubt. So there's like him and one other person that was doing something like that, but he had exclusive right for this particular person's product.
Oh, gotcha.
There was another product out there that was very similar to this, but not as good, harder to install and more expensive. And this guy had this entire Metroplex
Wow.
as a territory. So I really liked it. I really liked the upside, without a doubt. And then the numbers
Yeah, 'cause
changed.
I was
Go
gonna
ahead.
say, like for his profit being $50,000 a year, that just doesn't seem too intriguing.
No, it wasn't. But then, so if I go back here for the entire year of 24, get 1 million, and then we go over to here. 7 months is at 868.
Uh huh.
So this something he kind of started from scratch. So he had the territory. I think he started in 21 or maybe even 22 was his first year. And now he's figured it out too. So you'll see the numbers here that are drastically different. So this is why I love the company. So he's on a pace too. So that's through July 866 divided by 7 times 12. He's on a pace for $1.5 million, almost a 50% increase. What were the margins last year? 30%. Now they're 65. If I'm doing that number,
Wow.
if I'm doing that calculation right.
So why was he interested in selling?
I don't remember. I think he just wanted to do something else. He just wanted to cash out and go do something else. Yeah, I got gross margins at 63%. Gross margins almost doubled. So what he started
Did he have
doing,
a
he became selective on his jobs. Like he wasn't going to do a job under like 20 grand, and he just started rebidding them. Drastically different. So he wasn't before, he was taking every single job that came his way. And people were beating him down on price and doing all this sort of stuff. And then he realized, like, no, I'm gonna sell at this price. And if they don't take it, then fine. I'd rather do less jobs and make more money, which is what he was doing here. So this 868 is way less. So the 1.5, you would think he took on 50% more jobs or 50% more revenue. He took on like half the amount of jobs, but he just increased his price and then he got very picky on his customers. So now I'm excited about the company.
Would you have found a manager to help run the bids and the jobs, or how would you have transitioned?
I was talking to him to stay on for a year.
And in that year, you would go find another guy to learn the craft with him.
Yeah. I could just go find a plumber. It wouldn't have been very difficult to do this. So
Yeah,
now he's making $193,000, 193 divided by 7 times 12, 330. So he figured it out.
that's good.
So let's see what he did. So let's go back and see what his payroll was. Payroll. So this is in 24. Just last year. Payroll. He didn't have any payroll. 100% of his jobs were 1099. Hundred percent were 1099. Because you go down here, there's no payroll. There's no payroll anywhere. Anybody see payroll anywhere? Nope. No payroll. And then we look here. Oh, he hired some people. So he hired a bunch of people as W-2. So instead of paying out, $80 an hour, now he has somebody working for $40 an hour. Contractors, 163. Were contractors the previous year. Cost of goods sold, job supplies. Do you see contractors anywhere?
It's right under cost of goods sold. Oh, right above, yeah, contractors right above.
Yeah, that says
Go
job
up a little bit.
supplies.
There's that line contractors for
Oh,
500.
contractors. There it is. Thank you. I can't even see. Thank you. So it was all contractors. 529. Look, that's 50%. Right? So 1069 in your contractors, that didn't even include your job supplies. So your labor cost was 50%. Let's go see what it was this year. So he had contractors at 163 and W2 158. 63 plus 158, 321. %. So it went from 50 to 37 was his labor cost. So he just figured out that I'm going to have a core of, I don't know, let's say 2 trucks and 3 workers that are all W2, they're here. And then I'm going to supplement. If I get busier, have some bigger jobs, I'm going to bring on contractors. Okay. So that's really what he figured out. And turned it into a really nice company. So when I talked to him, this is through July, so I probably talked to him last August, because I'm trying to remember when I talked to him. He wanted $1.2 million to get out. And I told him to come back to me at the end of the year. And I actually just texted him about 2 weeks ago. I was like, man, I can't pay you off of 6 months of good data. I need the rest of the year, and then we can sit down and talk. But 330, 1.2 million, that was just his number. And he knew that was too much based off of the company. That's what he wanted to leave. So I got it. I understood what he was talking about. I mean, even that's at a 3.63, which is good, but I got to see a year. I got to see a year on this before I take that leap. So I don't know where he is. I haven't talked to him in several months, but I did text him recently. and I'm going to try to figure out what's going on, and hopefully he's still doing well, and maybe he's ready to sell. And this is all I got. I don't got any tax returns. I mean, this is what you're lucky to get this stuff on an off-market deal. I don't have any tax returns. I don't have a customer list. I didn't see a contract with the 1099 people he has. I didn't see his insurance. I didn't see anything, right? So you're kind of flying blind. And then I spend some time here and I look at his tax returns, and the tax returns are a mess, and they don't justify any of these numbers. And now I can't get a loan because all his ad backs are just complete BS. And now I'm spending a lot of time on this. Right? I spent a couple hours looking at this, and then had lunch with him. That was a couple hours, 2 or 3 hours. And now I'm like, oh man, I like it. Let's go. Send me some stuff. Takes him 6 weeks to get me my tax returns. And then look at the tax returns, and they're a mess. And I'm like, hey, can you reconcile the tax returns to the P&Ls? Yeah, I'll get to that. Well, he's got a full-time job. He's not going to send that to his CPA. He's going to do it himself. That takes another 6 weeks for you to get it. And then you just lose interest. You go away. Or you can't reconcile them, and then you can't get a loan because the bank's going to lend off the tax returns, right? So then the only way he's going to be able to sell this is what? By seller financing. And he doesn't want to do that. So this is why I hate off-market deals. It should be part of your portfolio, in essence, but don't rely on them. They're a pain in the ass. What was the question?
So would this have been enough for you to submit an LOI, or would you wait to see those tax returns before you'd actually put an offer in?
If I could get the 2025 full year, I'd do an LOI on that.
And then dig more deeper once you have it under contract.
Yeah. I like to do LOI because it's, especially with an exclusivity clause, you lock them up.
Yeah.
Don't go 2 or 3 weeks, 4 weeks worth of doing some research and some pre due diligence, and all of a sudden somebody swoops in and puts an LOI and you lose the deal. Because it's non-binding, the LOI, who cares? You can negotiate. You negotiate price like 5 times. Right? You're going through here. Let's say you had 8 customers that were repeating. It's not the case here, but let's just say it. You're doing due diligence and he just lost 2 of his customers. Yeah, I'm not buying it for 1.2 anymore. It's 900 grand. So you're renegotiating this all the time, and it can go the other way too. Hey, I just brought on a huge client. He's under contract for 5 years. I think he's going to double my business. I want 1.7 now. You can go the other way too. And then you can take the 1.7, a 5-year contract. Look at it. Maybe 1.7 is good. Or you say like, hey, I can't give you the 1.7. It hasn't even started yet, but I'll give you the 1.2 and I'll give you a $500,000 earnout if the contract comes through.
So how comfortable do you have to get before you just put an LOI out there? Are you just trying to get to like 60, 70% confidence, or what's your
science? I think that's a good number, 75%. I like the deal a lot. I'm hoping for it. I'm going to lock it up, and I'm going to look a little bit more. But I want to get locked up right now. Exclusivity, at least 90 days, if not 120. What I like to do is people bark at 120. Say 90, and then just make sure that you can extend it if need be. Make it a one-way extension of that exclusivity.
So what's the most amount of time you'll spend getting to that comfort before you'll put an LOI in? Do you try and cap it at a number of hours or weeks?
Couple weeks, 10 hours at most.
So pretty light touch due diligence before LOI, essentially.
Yeah.
relative.
So
to
LOI,
that.
and then what I like to do is before I start spending a whole bunch of money, I like to ask for some documents to come my way before due diligence, so I don't spend any money, and I'll do my own kind of pre-due diligence.
Hmm.
Send me some financials, P&L by month, right? Send me customer revenue by customer for each year, so I can see customer concentration. Send me over your employee list and give me their pay rates and when's the last time they had a raise, what do they do, that sort of stuff. So 5 or 10 things be sent to me that I can do some pre-due diligence in a matter of a couple hours and ask some questions.
And if,
Yeah.
and if those all go well, that's when you put the LOI in?
Yeah.
Or you'll expect that before. Okay.
I'm not getting. Anybody else have any questions?
Is there any pre-due diligence checklist or document in the community?
Yeah. It is all encompassing. So 3/4 of that stuff is, I don't know how many pages, it's like 6 pages long. 3/4 of the stuff you can just take off. But I wanted to include everything in there. Like, for example, if you're buying a C corporation, it's got board minutes. Well, okay, a lot of companies aren't going to have board minutes. Listing of shareholders. Well, again, you're buying an LLC, they don't have shareholders, right? So there's a bunch of stuff on there that's not applicable. But I mean, we can bring that up, and I can just, in a matter of 5 minutes, like, yeah, you don't need that, you don't need that, you don't need that, you don't need that. Copies of any outstanding lawsuits, copies of any outstanding insurance claims. You can ask for a bunch of that stuff, and they're just going to NA a bunch of it. But it should be in there in the templates and stuff like that. If it's not, let me know. I can add it because I know I got it on my computer here. What else? Give me a couple more questions.
So for this, you were basically willing to price this off of, or you would be off of 1 year's.
Off of 1 year, which is super scary.
That's kind of where I was going with that. So typically you try and rate, but
which I normally like to tell you to base it off of 3 years of revenue, but he started this in 24. He had like $75,000, not 24, 22. He had like $75,000, $100,000 in revenue in 22. And then went to 900 and a million and is on a pace to do 1.5. And his margin sucked, and he figured it out, how to run his company in 25.
So if he's built this brand, Dave's Plumbing, call it, would you keep that name and branding, or would you eventually turn it over?
Yeah, without a doubt.
To try for the public, keep it status quo. They don't really see a change.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I was reading that question. What was that question?
Basically, just saying from like the public's end, they wouldn't see a change. They'd be the same company.
No, you don't want to. You're buying the company as is. You want to keep everything intact. This is not a turnaround situation where you want to, under new management sort of shit and change the name and all that sort of crap. So
Right.
you're buying a company because it's good. All right. So I got a question in the chat. Can't unmute. It's like I got to figure this shit out. We may have to switch over to Zoom or something. Because these are coming straight out of school. Can you explain the difference between 1099 and switching them to W-2? Well, we're not going to switch them to W-2 unless you have to. Okay, so there's a video you guys need to go watch, but I'll explain it here too. And you go to irs.gov, Google 1099 versus W-2 IRS questions. You can look it up yourself, irs.gov. But in essence, this is a big one that we need to look for. Okay. In fact, I was just looking at somebody's deal the other day, and it was 100% 1099 expenses, and no way in hell were those 1099. So the reason why a business owner would wants to have 1099 versus W2, 1099 pays both sides of their own Social Security. Let's call it 8%. Okay, so if you're 1099, you are what? You are self-employed. Okay? So if you're self-employed, you pay what they call the self-employment tax, which in essence is both sides of Social Security. 8 and 8 equals 16. Okay? If I had that same person and I had them classified, excuse me, as an employee, meaning they're going to get its W2 income, what's taken out of their paycheck? 8%. Guess who pays the other 8%? I do, as the owner of the company. It's called payroll taxes. So if I had to pick one or the other, I want to have all 1099 because I'm not paying that payroll tax. Okay. So a lot of people will like to classify them as 1099. One, they don't have to pay any benefits either. Most small businesses don't provide health insurance or 401k, anything like that. But if you did to 1099, they're not eligible for that stuff. And they're not eligible for what? Vacation pay either. You get nothing. Okay. A lot of companies will list all of their sales staff as 1099. There's like 4 or 5 questions at irs.gov. Okay, let's say they're a plumber and they're driving their van around from job to job. Is that their van or is that your van? Oh, that's your van? I gotta stop right there. They're W2. Oh, they got $40,000 worth of tools inside that van. Is that their tools or is that your tools? Oh, that's your tools? They're definitely W2. Okay. Do you supervise them? Do you tell them where and when to show up and what to do? Oh, they're W2. Do they work for other people or do they work exclusively for you? Can they work for other people if they wanted to? No, they don't work for anybody, and no, they can't work for anybody else. If they didn't show up to work, would you fire them? Yeah, they're W2. So there's like 4 or 5 questions to ask if you have a W2 or a 1099. To answer that question, go watch the video too. The video probably goes in a little bit more detail. And then Google it too, find some good information. But that is a big one to look at, right? If you got $1 million worth of 1099 people on a P&L, and you've asked the broker and or the seller, hey, what do these guys do? They have their own tools. Do you supervise them? They got to show up at a certain time? Do they own their own trucks? Do they work for other people? You've asked all these questions and you figured out, oh shit, if I got to do this right, I got to convert these people over to W2. So guess what additional expense you're going to have next year? $1 million of payroll at 8% because you're paying payroll tax another $80,000. And if you're paying a 4 multiple, it's $320,000 of purchase price that you just overpaid for the company. Okay, that is a big one that you got to figure out. Don't have to figure that out at before LOI. Get them locked up. You can ask that question. That's part of the negotiation going forward. What else? One more quick question. I'm going to go watch basketball. And you guys got to note that I'm not going to be here Wednesday, right? I got some personal family stuff to do on Wednesday. But, obviously I'm available by phone call anytime you guys need me. Come back here. Let me see if there's any more questions in the chat real quick before I leave. Nope. For you guys that couldn't unmute, if you guys have any questions, throw them in the chat real quick before I end it. And you guys are sending me some badass deals, by the way. So keep working. Cast a wide net. Have 10 lines in the water at the same time. Cool. I'll ask you, Andrew, anything more since you're the only one that's unmuted?
No, all good. A couple others, so I'll give you a call this week and we'll catch up on them.
Okay. Very cool. All right, you
Cool.
guys have a good one.
Thanks, Paul.
All right, bye.